Question 1A is by using business cycle diagram, illustrate the phase of Malaysia economic situation. Figure 1 is an illustration of the Malaysia economic situation. Question 1B is briefly about that phase. Figure 1 shows the phase of the business cycle. In the first quarter of the Malaysian economic phase, there was an increase of 0.7% known as the peak. The economy is at full employment, trade and output high, aggregate demand and national income high. The Malaysian economy contracted 17.1% in the second quarter of 2020 and 16.5% in the following quarter with inflation of negative 2.6%, indicating a low employment rate. Low fuel prices compared to the previous year were a major factor in total inflation during the quarter. Recession occurs between the peak point to the trough point. This is due to limited production activities and low demand following measures taken to control COVID-19 outbreaks. The trough is the minimum point in the business cycle, where the level of economic activity as a whole falls to its lowest level, the unemployment rate is high, and various economic and social problems exist. Core inflation increased to 1.2%. This indicates an increase in employment and can help the country's economy to develop quickly. After a recession, expansion is a stage of recovery that leads to economic growth. It's a pace in which total output increased. Increased consumption will lead to a rise in employment, output, income, wages, and profits.
For question C1, the question is state one economic policy that government should implement. So the answer is the necessary economic policy implemented by the government is a fiscal policy that aims to change government spending and change taxes. This fiscal policy is divided into two: first expansion and second contraction. For the questions C2, briefly explain the role of targeted economic policy. The answer is during the COVID-19 pandemic season, it is certain that the government will implement an expansionary physical economic policy because demand and supply decrease simultaneously. The role of the government in this expansionary physical economic policy is to reduce taxes and increase government spending. This can help aggregate production and aggregate demand increase. Next, the government also needs to create more jobs in the government sector in order to help people get jobs and salaries for people to spend. For example, job opportunities such as in the medical field, because in this pandemic requires workers in those fields. In addition, by reducing taxes, the people will be able to earn extra money to spend, such as subsistence assistance, and companies can generate profits that can increase investment. This will further boost economic growth, although this is not good for the country because it has to be in debt to cover the inadequacy in the COVID-19 season, but it had to be done to save the economic situation of the country, which is also experiencing economic recession in the world due to this pandemic.
To find the taxes, we will extract it from consumption function. The question given started that is C equal to RM2500, autonomous consumption RM1000, and PC equal to 0.75. Disposable income equal to 2000 and national income equal to 3000. To get the taxes value, we will use equation C equal to A plus B. After calculate, we can conclude the value of taxes is equal to RM1000. To find the consumption, we have autonomous consumption 1000 and MPC equal to 0.75. So to get the consumption function before taxes, we just put all the figure in the formula, which is C equal to A plus BYD. For the consumption, function after taxes, we will include the taxes that we have in previous question. So, we will minus the taxes with the national income to get new consumption function after taxes. For the saving function before taxes, we know there is autonomous saving negative 1000 and MPS is 0.25. So we will have the function saving as equal to negative 1000 plus 0.25. For the saving function after taxes, we know there is 1000 billion taxes. So we will subtract the taxes with the national income, and after the calculation, we will have saving function as equal to negative 1250 plus 0.25. To find the equilibrium for AD equal to AS approved, we will use Y equal to C plus I plus G. After the calculation, we will get the equilibrium is as RM 900 billion. For the leakage and injection approved, we will use I plus G equal to S plus T. After the calculation, we will get the equilibrium is at 9000 billion.
Okay, now I will explain about how to find a new equilibrium of national income. Firstly, we must to look at the information given from the text or question. Based on the statement given, aggregate investment contracted for the 5th consecutive quarter by 5% with broad-based weaknesses in both private and public investment. So it means that I, which is investment, decreased 5%. So 1000 billion need to minus with 50 billion, which is 5% from the amount. So the answer you will get is 950 billion. The export is 1050 billion, and government also spent as much as 10 billion for Prihatin Rakyat Economic Stimulus Package to boost economic recovery. So 1000 billion, the amount before, need to add 10 billion. So we will get 1010 billion. So after that, we just apply it to the formula, which is Y equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Before that, you must to know the consumption function still same. So after you do the calculation, you will get the final answer is Y equal to 13,040 billion, which is the new equilibrium of national income. Okay, for question B, to Roman, the equilibrium is E, due when Y, which is national income, equal to aggregate demand, which is AD. Based on the graph, the national income at Y, that is 13,040 billion, but the national income of full employment at point B, you can see that there is the inflationary gap at the graph, which is AB. That is economic problem. The inflationary gap of AB will increase in general price level. The inflationary gap disappear only when the aggregate money income increase from 0 YFE to 0 Y, raising the general level of price. Okay, so the suggestion policy that government should implement is contractionary fiscal policy, which is reduce government expenditure and rising taxes. Okay, from there we will see the AE will reduce and the inflationary gap also can be disappear. Okay, for question D, I will explain this answer using aggregate demand and aggregate supply curve. Alright, based on the graph, the initial equilibrium is reached at point E, at the price level of P and the national income is Y, when the AD curve intersect with the AS curve. Okay, based on the situation given, Bank Negara Malaysia its interest rate 3.75% in quarter 4 2020. That's slightly lower compared to quarters 4 2019 at 4.8%. So that's mean the rate is reduced. So the investment will increase and automatically aggregate expenditure, which is AE, increase. So AD also will increase and AD curve will shift to the right from AD to AD1. Okay, at the price at the price level at P0, there is an exists AD. As you can see, EC. This will increase price level and the firm will add output. Therefore, the new equilibrium reached at E1. So, as a result, the price level increased from P to P1 and national income also increased to Y from Y to Y1. Alright, thank you.
And I will proceed with the question number 3. So the question number 3 is about the discussion about Malaysian economic condition if the situation twin deficit is happened. Okay, first of all, I will tell you the definition of twin deficit. A twin deficit can be defined as a situation when a national government has a combination of a deficit in the current account and a fiscal deficit. Okay, firstly, the current account deficit occurs because the value of imports of goods and services is more than the value of export within the country. It means the country economy is importing more than the exporting. Secondly, a fiscal deficit occurs when government spending exceeds the government revenue. It can mean the country government is spending more money than it is generating. So both of these things must happen at the same time to be termed as a twin deficit. It also can be called as a double deficit. Over the long term, it may cause the nation currency to devalue. Okay, now let's take a look at Malaysian economic condition if the situation twin deficit is happen. Okay, first, as for the current account deficit, it will cause the value of Malaysian ringgit RM to fall to a low level compared to the value of the currencies of other countries. This is indirectly due to the high value of import compared to the value of export. Moreover, it shows that the local economic market is not in high demand from consumer or household. This has proved that the economic situation of the country is in a bad state. Therefore, the investor will be less confident to invest in Malaysia, and this situation needs to be improved so that the value of national currency can be increased in order to further encourage to the country export activities compared to the import activities. Now, let's move to the fiscal deficit. Okay, for fiscal deficit, this indicates that the government plans an effort to ensure that government spending does not exceed revenue. So, the situation has forced the government to issue bonds from several financial instruments like check, shares, stock, bond, future, and option contracts. Moreover, if the deficit arises because the government has engaged in extra spending projects, for example, infrastructure spending or grant to business, then the sector chosen to receive the money receive a money for the operation and profitability. But if the deficit arises because receipts to the government have fallen, either through tax cuts or a decline in business activity, then no such stimulus takes place. So there are a few effects that may be happen if the situation twin deficit happen in Malaysia. And I think that's all from me for the question 3 for this topic. So next I will pass to Shazwana to continue the one more question in the question number 3 for this presentation. Thank you.
I will explain question 3, which is best solution to twin deficit situation. To solve the situation, government can repair trading accounts through three things, which is increasing the competitiveness of Malaysian goods, reduction of imports and promote the substitution of imports of consumption goods, and improving the balance of services. The first one is increasing the competitiveness of Malaysian goods by increasing exports of national products through the construction of industrial areas, tax-free areas, and providing export subsidies. Creating wage price stability so that production costs and the price of locally produced goods can be reduced. Create or find new markets, especially abroad, to expand export goods. The second one is reduction of imports and promote the substitution of imports of consumption goods through carry out devaluation, impose tariffs and quotas so that the price of imported goods increases to reduce imports. Carry out foreign currency control by restricting the use of foreign currency to the public and entrepreneurs, only to import goods that are needed. And the last one is improving the balance of services through reduce the investment income deficit by encouraging more Malaysian investments abroad to earn profits. Reduce the transport account deficit by enhancing the capacity of local shipping services. Lastly, encouraging the domestic tourism sector especially attracts the entry of foreign tourists to increase foreign currency inflows. That's all from me. Thank you.